It's 7:30 in the evening. A mother is giving her 6-week-old baby a bath. Not rushing, not checking her phone. Just warm water, a soft cloth, and a quiet hum. By 8 o'clock, the baby is asleep. Not crying himself to sleep, not nursed into unconsciousness, not rocked for an hour while she stands in the dark praying he doesn't wake the moment she puts him down. Just asleep. She will not hear from him again until morning. And here's what makes this remarkable. This isn't luck. This isn't a particularly easy baby. This is week 3. Researchers who have studied infant sleep across 17 countries keep arriving at the same uncomfortable finding. Japanese babies sleep longer, wake less, and self-settle earlier than babies in almost every other culture studied. And when they looked for the reason, they didn't find it in genetics. They didn't find it in diet. They found it in what happens in the hour before sleep. Every single night, starting from day 1. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that hour looks like, why it works at a neurological level, and how you can begin it tonight, even if your baby hasn't slept more than 2 hours straight in weeks. First, let me say something that I think a lot of exhausted parents need to hear. If your baby isn't sleeping, you haven't failed. You've just been given the wrong map. Because the Western approach to infant sleep, the one most of us were handed by books, apps, and well-meaning relatives, is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what a baby's nervous system actually needs. Here's what that approach looks like. We treat sleep as something that happens to the baby. We wait until they're overtired. Then we try to force the transition. We bounce, we shush, we feed, we rock, we pace the hallway at 2 a.m. in the dark, and then we hold our breath as we lower them into the crib, millimeter by millimeter, praying the mattress doesn't feel different from our arms. And when it doesn't work, and it often doesn't, we blame ourselves. We read another book. We try another method. We Googled, why won't my baby sleep at 3 a.m. with one eye open? And here's what's fascinating. The entire time, we're working against the baby's biology instead of with it. Because a baby's nervous system doesn't need to be tricked into sleep. It needs to be prepared for it. And that preparation, that is exactly what Japanese mothers have been doing for centuries. In Japanese, there is a concept called nemori no ma. It is written with 3 characters. The first means sleep. The second means of. The third means interval, or space between things. Nemori no ma. The space that leads to sleep. Not the act of sleeping itself, the sacred transition into it. Western cultures treat bedtime as a destination. Japanese culture treats it as a journey. And the journey, the nemori no ma, begins exactly 60 minutes before the baby closes their eyes. Think about that for a second. Not 10 minutes of routine, not a quick feed and lights out. A full, intentional, unhurried hour of transition. Because here's what neuroscience tells us. A baby cannot neurologically shift from stimulation to deep sleep without a period of gradual descent. Their cortisol, the stress hormone, needs time to fall. Their body temperature needs time to drop. Their nervous system needs time to move from the sympathetic state, alert, reactive, stimulated, to the parasympathetic state, calm, open, ready for rest. This transition cannot be rushed. It can only be created. And the Nemori no Ma is the Japanese art of creating it. Every single night.
Here's where the research becomes impossible to ignore. A study published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews analyzed sleep patterns across multiple cultures and found one variable more predictive of infant sleep quality than any other. Not room temperature, not feeding method, not white noise. Consistency of pre-sleep environment. The babies who slept longest and woke least were the babies whose bodies had learned, through nightly repetition, exactly what was coming. Their nervous systems weren't guessing. They were recognizing. And recognition in the infant brain is the deepest form of safety. Researchers at the University of Colorado's Sleep and Development Lab found something that stopped me completely when I read it. Babies as young as 3 weeks old begin to anticipate sleep, not when they're tired, but when the environmental cues they've been given repeatedly begin to appear. The same warm water, the same soft light, the same quiet voice, the same sequence, every night, without variation. By week 3 of consistent practice, the baby's cortisol begins dropping, not when sleep arrives, but when the ritual begins. The body learns to let go before it's even asked. That is the power of Nemuri no Ma. So, what does the Nemuri no Ma actually look like? Let me walk you through it. Not as a rigid schedule, because Japanese parenting is never about rigidity, but as a sequence of sensory signals your baby's nervous system will learn to trust. 60 minutes before sleep, Japanese mothers begin with warm water. Not a quick rinse, a slow, intentional bath. The water is slightly warm, around 38 to 40 degrees, just above body temperature. And here's the biology behind this. When a baby is placed in warm water, their core body temperature rises slightly. When they are taken out, it drops. And that drop in body temperature is one of the most powerful biological triggers for sleep onset that exists. The bath isn't just about cleanliness. It's a neurological signal. It tells the body what comes next is rest. After the bath, Japanese mothers do something Western parenting rarely names, but neuroscience fully supports. A slow, gentle massage. Not vigorous, not playful. Slow. Downward strokes. Warm oil, usually camellia or sesame, both traditional in Japanese baby care. Research from the Touch Research Institute at the University of Miami found that infant massage performed consistently before sleep reduced cortisol levels by measurable degrees within 2 weeks. The babies didn't just feel calmer, their stress hormones proved it. The touch also activates the vagus nerve, the body's main parasympathetic pathway, telling every system in the baby's body to slow down, open up, and prepare for safety. By the time the massage is complete, the room has changed. Japanese bedrooms during Nemori no Ma are dim. Not dark, but dim. Warm light only. No screens, no overhead brightness. This isn't aesthetic preference. This is melatonin management. Bright light suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals sleep, for up to 90 minutes after exposure. Most Western bedtime routines involve bright bathrooms, lit hallways, television in the background. Japanese mothers eliminate all of it. The dimming of light is a signal, and the baby's brain learns it. This is the part that moves me most. Throughout the entire hour, the Japanese mother speaks to her baby in a particular way. Low, slow, unhurried. Not silence. Silence can feel cold to a newborn.
but sound without stimulation. Often a traditional lullaby called a komoryuta, a carrying song, sung not to entertain the baby, but to regulate them. Research on maternal voice and infant cortisol found that a mother's slow, rhythmic voice lowers stress hormones in infants more effectively than any other sound stimulus tested. Not white noise, not nature sounds, the mother's own voice, slow and low. Your voice is the most powerful sleep tool you already own. The final signal is the one Western culture finds hardest. In the last 15 minutes of Nemuri no Ma, the mother becomes still. No more stimulation, no more interaction. She holds the baby or lies beside them, in quiet. Just presence. Just warmth. Just breath. And the baby's nervous system, having moved through every signal in sequence, the warm water, the touch, the dim light, the low voice, arrives at stillness, already 80% of the way to sleep. The mother doesn't put the baby down. The baby arrives there. That is the difference. I want to be honest with you about something. The first night you try this, it may not work perfectly. The second night, it will feel slightly more familiar. By the end of the first week, something will shift. And by week 3, if you hold the sequence consistently, you won't be managing your baby's sleep anymore. You'll be watching them lead themselves into it. Because that's what Nemuri no Ma ultimately builds. Not a baby who is controlled into sleeping. A baby whose body has learned that this sequence of warmth and touch and light and voice means one thing. You are safe. The day is done. Rest is here. And a baby who feels that, truly feels it, night after night, doesn't need to cry to fall asleep. They already know where they're going. Japanese mothers aren't calmer at bedtime because their babies are easier. They're calmer because they stopped trying to end the day and started learning how to close it beautifully. You can do the same thing, starting tonight. If this gave you something, a little hope, a new way to see those bedtime hours, share it with another parent who needs to hear it right now. And if you want more on the hidden science of your baby's world and the wisdom other cultures figured out long before we did, subscribe. There's a lot more coming. See you in the next one.